Your mom and dad. Your mom and dad. Your mom and dad. Your mom and dad.
Well, welcome home. It's your mom and dad.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Welcome home.
Hello, family. How are you all? How are you, Lee?
I'm good. Vibes are good today.
Oh, vibes are good. It is cozy as hell right now.
I've been seeing some comments here and there. Uncle Lee.
Uncle Lee.
Uncle Lee? Oh, I like it.
Right?
Oh my gosh, yes,
I was
Uncle
like, that
Lee.
is perfect. How did we not think of that?
Wow.
That's the new name. I love it. Uncle Lee.
Uncle Lee. And people are like, show him. By the way, it's not because he doesn't. It's not because we don't want to show him. He has chosen right now to remain anonymous. So
listen, there's
don't-
something about
True,
the
that's
mystery
true.
of it. Honestly, Lee, I think you're kind of this like shrouded figure, and people love your voice. And I've gotten numerous messages from people. They're like, "Is Lee single? Is he ready to mingle?" And I'm like, "When Lee is ready to mingle, we will let you know."
No. Let's be very clear. When Lee is ready to mingle, we will have a dating show on this show, and it will be a free-for-all frenzy, okay? So do not for one second think that we're going to allow him to date anyone without going through our process
It's
first.
true. We're gonna protect Uncle Lee.
Gotta meet the parents.
Exactly. Meet the parents. That's the segment. Well, yeah, it's like...
That's a great segment
That
idea.
is great. Don't steal that, people. Copyrighted.
Copyrighted by Uncle Lee.
No, but like, yeah, he's like you can't show you his face, you know, because he's like works at the CIA. He's kind of the mysterious uncle that comes to a couple birthdays, couple things here and there. Everybody wonders what he does. No one really knows what he does.
Oh my gosh.
I had an
love
uncle like that, but he didn't work for the CIA. He was a criminal. Anyway,
We're gonna get into that at the top of the show.
I like the idea of it. You don't know what he is. Is he good? Is he bad? Well, I am excited to be here
So am I.
because I almost called in today and didn't come.
Oh my gosh, Lee, we have a problem.
Oh, no.
I almost just decided I've got other things to do, and that other things to do is Zelda.
Family, you have officially have an absent father now because Evan discovered Zelda and it's game over. It's all you want to do. And I've never seen you like this. Evan is such a workhorse. It's just 24/7 work. And for the first time in however long, this man is like, not going to work right now. I'm going to play Zelda for hours.
I'm not a video game guy. I've never been a video game guy. I've never even owned an Xbox, a PlayStation, a Nintendo, nothing. We had like a old N64 here, but that's for her to play Zelda on every once in a while.
Which
no
I
interest.
love.
Oh, yeah.
No interest.
So I've always tried to bring him over to the dark side, right? I'm like, come on. I love my occasional gaming. I love my Nintendo 64, and Zelda is my safe space. It's
Yes.
my most favorite thing to unwind with, and Evan's never tried it before.
Right.
And I think it's because the graphics were so bad on my N64.
Yeah, I'm kind of like a snob. I like good graphics.
It's hard to like jump into that like 20 years later.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like,
It's very nostalgic for me,
Yeah.
so I'm like, oh, it makes me feel
people
like I'm cozy.
like friends of mine who play video games. They're really into like nostalgic video games, and I'm going like, this just looks like shit. Why would I do this? I don't like this. But like, I get it. You know, they've had the good. Anyway, we got this Nintendo Switch thing, and it's because there's a dance game on it. And,
Yes.
and everyone in the family likes to play it. So like,
And Ember crushes
Ember
it.
kills it. So we play.
Yeah.
They grab the controllers and they dance for hours. It's like they're working out. It's awesome. So they're playing, and I'm like, whatever. So I know she likes this game Zelda, so I get the Zelda for it. Even though I talk about it, I don't even know what I'm saying. But we get Zelda, and then I'm just like, let me just try this thing while I'm trying to install it. 7 hours later.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
wow.
6 hours later. It's 2 a.m. and I'm like, I blacked out. Like
You
I
fully
literally,
blacked out.
it felt like I played for 30 minutes. And then the next day, like 4 hours. I can't stop playing this game.
He can't stop. He's just up at all hours of the night. I'm going in and he's just nonstop with this game.
I'm fantasizing about it.
It's the new dream.
Yeah. Wait.
Like when I'm doing
Now
other
he's
things, I'm
Link
just
when he's
thinking
peeing
about.
in his dreams.
I'm like fantasizing about. I'm thinking about all the levels and the things and how hard that thing was, and I'm like, dude, I get it now. Is this what video game people are like? I'm like, I get it.
Welcome.
Dangerous
to the other
though.
side.
yeah.
Really dangerous. Like your brain can get so sucked into that world. It is unbelievable. So I'm a Zelda guy now. Huge fan. Is it bothering you though that I'm playing a lot? Because I mean, I feel like in the past you'd always say stuff like, "I'm grateful that you don't play a lot of video games," because I don't think I like that very much. It grossed me out. Like now that I'm a video game guy, you know, now here's the thing. I don't have the headphones, you know, with the thing being like, hey, get to the chopper. That's a whole nother level. Yeah. But I'm probably on my way. How do you feel about this?
Are you asking if it gives me the ick?
I'm asking you, is it turning you off, okay?
I'm dry as a desert now. No, actually, speaking of the ick, okay, I do want to get into the ick, so let's get into that in a moment. Okay. But you know what I have to say? It does not, because it's Zelda. Now, cut to you doing Madden, whatever, or some hockey, some sports bullshit. I'm not going to be able to handle that. That, I can't. I have no, then I'll be like, get off the video game. But for right now,
it's because you like Zelda.
I love watching you play Zelda. Also, I'm like, you need a release. You always are working. So I'm happy about that. But let's make something very clear, sir.
Yes.
If Zelda turns into another game, turns into football, I'm out.
You mean football game or like watching the game on the weekends?
I mean, I feel like football game then transitions to watching the game on the weekends. And then you're a football game playing, has to see, guy. And that's not for me.
I'm at the funeral with like the game on.
Yeah, it's not for me. It's not for
you know
me.
what I mean?
That's an ick for me, okay?
I saw this one video. This guy, he was at a wedding and he was like, everyone was videoing them as going down the hall, but he was actually just watching golf.
Oh my God.
So everyone's if you're not watching, everyone's sitting in the aisles like videoing the bride go down, and then you can just zoom in and see him watching golf, faking that he's videoing the bride.
That's amazing.
That's gonna be me with Zelda. I'm gonna be like, have control.
No, seriously, he realized that he can actually hold the Switch, and he's like, oh, new level unlocked. And now I'm like, you can't be walking around with that thing. You can do it when you're sitting, but you cannot take it anywhere. Okay, I want to talk about the ick, but let's take a quick pause before we dive into the ick, because I have some thoughts about the ick.
Do you have some thoughts?
And I also want to know if you have any icks with me.
Okay.
But I also have some thoughts about the ick. Okay. But first, family, speaking of these cozy rainy days, okay, parents, caretakers, how many of you have wondered, okay, what are we going to do to keep the kiddos entertained when we're stuck in this house all day? Well, you know that our favorite answer is KiwiCo. KiwiCo creates super cool hands-on projects designed to create a lifelong love for learning among kids. Each month, KiwiCo delivers crates packed with fun and sparks creativity with kid-friendly topics and activities.
Amber loves this stuff. She has a
so
blast.
Much.
Get super cool hands-on science, art, and geography projects delivered to your door every month. These are real engineering, science, and art projects with high-quality materials. There's something for all ages, from discovering the science of magic to engineering a domino machine and more. There's no commitment, so you can pause and cancel anytime.
Ember, like Evan said, she loves her KiwiCo. She's been getting KiwiCo crates each month now for years, and she is thrilled every time it arrives. And as a parent, it's honestly so incredible to see her just feel so much pride and confidence as she's able to put these projects together herself, because KiwiCo makes it easy for the kiddos to figure out on their own. It sparked so much excitement for her to create an experiment. It's incredible. She just had an arcade-themed crate recently where she assembled her own arcade claw, and it was very cool. She loved it. I loved it. Redefine learning with play. Explore hands-on projects that build creative confidence and problem-solving skills with KiwiCo. Get 50% off your first month plus free shipping on any crate line at kiwico.com/momdad. That's 50% off your first month at kiwico.com/momdad. Okay, yes, I wanted to talk about the ick because I actually was listening to Dave Neal's Bachelor Rush Hour podcast, which Dave came on the podcast last week. He was amazing. So thank you so much to Dave.
It was awesome. He's just, what I'm blown away with him is that his speed. At which things quick. Come into his brain and then he's able to articulate.
I know.
It was actually a moment I felt a little insecure.
Did you really?
Yeah. Because he was like going like, and then I cut to me and I felt half speed.
You were in slow motion.
Yeah. Because he goes, and the thing is, and I was thinking about this and this and this, and here are these 4 correlations to this, and I go, and for me, the crazy thing is poop. Like it felt like that, you know what I mean? Like it's just like, and I literally, after I said that sentence, I was like, anyway, back to you. Like, sorry, I shouldn't have said anything. It was just like me like food.
I remember looking over to you at one point and seeing a little bit of the insecurity in your eyes. I was like, no.
I'm just absolutely in a race and I'm losing so bad right now.
Oh, God bless him. He is so quick.
Cheez-Its. How about you, Dave? Dave's like, anyway, Cheez-Its, they're made from if you bake them 3 times.
And then there's like joke.
Yeah, joke.
Like,
and I'm like, anyway, back to you.
Well, I was listening, to Dave's podcast, Bachelor Rush Hour. So good.
Yeah.
And he had on Dr. Diane at Back to Love Doc. And they were discussing the whole Greer-Zach conversation. It's fantastic. You have to listen to the episode. Great perspective, great conversation. But Dr. Diane was bringing up how she thought that Zach got the ick and when he got the ick with Greer and was talking about the ick. So I started going down a whole ick process in my brain. So I'm glad you brought it up because also I've been watching a lot of Love Island, which is when I first learned about the term the ick. Yes. I mean, for years ago.
Legendary. It's
Love
a legendary
Island.
way to describe something that's kind of indescribable.
I know. Well, okay, so here's my thing with the ick.
Yeah.
I feel like when people talk about the ick often, it's like something that your partner or whoever does to like bug you and you can kind of get over it. My definition, and I'm sure people will argue me just
right,
like crazy about this, but the way that I always perceive the ick, my personal definition, it's my opinion, is that once I feel the ick, it's game over. Like there's no going back.
That's
from
the
ick.
definition. Anyone who thinks that the ick is something that your partner bugs, wrong.
I just feel like
you're being nice by saying it's your opinion. No. The fact is the ick.
But I was reading articles because then I was thinking about it after I was listening to this. I was like, is the ick? And then people were saying like, yeah, when you push through, you can get. I'm like, to me, if I get the ick, because let me trust and believe. Okay, you do many things.
Yeah, that bug the shit out of you. I'm
get
sure.
Angry about, frustrate me, embarrass me. That's my one. Is the embarrassed one. But you do these things, but it's not. I would never define those for me as the ick. Now, when I think about my ex, who I started dating after you and I broke up for a little while, that's the definition of the ick for me. I was already like, I don't know how I feel about this.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden the ick struck.
Did something.
And it was like ick after ick after ick. And I'm talking icks where you're like, it's not like, oh, I don't think he's a good person. It was like, why do you wear your backpack everywhere?
Right, put it down.
Like, stop. Do you know what I'm saying?
The ick is a fungus.
And I normally would never notice it. If you wore your backpack everywhere, I would never think about it.
Right.
But when I looked at him and the way he would like kind of turn his face before he'd answer me, I'd be like, stop it.
Yeah.
Like it was just,
let's be
just
super
deep.
clear here. The ick is a fungus.
Okay.
And it infiltrates.
You've referred to me as a fungus before, so I'm feeling a little bit insecure.
The ick is a worm.
Okay.
That buries itself into your brain. And once it buries itself into your brain, it latches on to your cerebellum.
Dave, we need you.
Cerebellum?
Dave? Can you swing by quick?
My God. Okay. You're not helping with my insecurity right now. Into your celebration. Okay. Deep into your celebration. Deep into your brain cavity, whatever. Your cerebellum, right? Is that a part of your brain?
Yeah, that's part of your brain.
And once it latches on, okay, God damn. Once it latches on, it's there. But I think I want to bring up a point to this later. But and it is on there, and then it changes the way that you look at someone. Right?
That's how I feel. That's the way, it's done
because
for
in
forever.
The show, people always say like, "Oh, I got the ick." It's never like, "Oh, the way he does that thing that gave me a little bit of the ick." No, it's like, "I got the ick," and it's there, and now that guy's I'm off of him.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue.
But that's how I feel. So so after I was listening to Dave's pod and they were talking about the ick, I all of a sudden was like, I wonder like what are, common icks for people. And so I was, all of a sudden I'm down this whole, cut to me. I don't even know where I am. I'm just researching all this stuff because then I'm curious. And so many articles that I was seeing when it was like polls, like percentage polls, the icks were things like, I don't know, like they're a know-it-all or bad hygiene. And I'm like, I guess for me,
That's literally the ick.
I'm like, I guess, yes, when I'm dating somebody and if someone was rude to wait staff, I'd be like, we're done.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be like, oh, ick. It'd be like, to me, whenever I think about an ick, it feels like things that wouldn't bother me with the right partner.
Yeah.
If I found my person, that my person could do that and it wouldn't bug me. But when you do it, not you, I'm saying when the person I'm getting the ick for, you know what I mean?
I think I could start doing something that could give you an ick that would be really hard to get rid of.
You think I have something in particular?
Like my point is what I'm getting at is like, I think that if you really love someone, it's hard to get the ick.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
It's
What
like
about
your
when you
ick
and I first
tolerance
started
is much
dating?
higher. But I do think that like you can still possibly develop traits that could give someone the ick later on down the line, right?
Well, I feel like, there could be a point in our relationship where maybe if it's like, oh, we're starting to kind of fall out of love, then I could get the ick.
Right. Okay. I see what you're saying. So the
I'm not
love
saying-
meter and the ick meter. Okay. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm curious. Everybody leave in the comments your perspective on the ick, because this was always
This
my
is basically
perspective.
quantum mechanics. You know what I mean? It's low. It's early days and we're developing.
Because in the early days, and from my perception, it was always things that happened to just, there was that moment, like, for example, there was a moment in this episode where the way Zach was leaning against the couch, I was like, oh, ick. Like it would have been like if I was there, but that's because I don't have a crush on Zach.
Sure.
Or Zach, if I was there, I'd feel very like, I don't know how I feel. I feel like the ick is the gateway, like your subconscious being like, this isn't the right person for you. And your brain's a little bit like, all these random things are going to start really bugging you to get out. But maybe that's just because like I said, I was reading these articles and people were like, yeah, longtime partners or people that I've been with and I like always have these icks permanently with them. And I'm like, oh, damn, maybe we just have a different idea of ick, because when you do things that embarrass me or bother me, I don't feel that same ick like I felt with my ex when, he would turn a certain song on and I wanted to just, scream.
It must be like a biological thing that's like telling your brain you're not on the same page.
Maybe.
And it's like,
because why can you do something that embarrasses me or bugs me, but I don't feel this deep ick? And maybe if I wouldn't have experienced the ick before, I would think what you were doing was an ick. But I've experienced the ick deeply before numerous times with other people. So I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, it's interesting because it can be subtle too. It doesn't have to be big. It can be subtle. Yeah, because I've heard like people talk online about like, oh my God, I loved this guy. He was amazing. And then he did these 3 things. I did this thing. I got the major ick and I could never date him again.
Yeah, maybe I have a wrong perception of the ick.
No, I think that's what the ick, I think you were saying it correctly.
But they were saying they love this person.
No. Yeah, but I think you're changing the definition if you're like, I have the ick and then I got married to them and we were in love and life's great, but I still have the ick for these things. You don't have ick for things. You get the ick about a person because they do certain things and then it's over.
Okay, yeah.
That's my personal definition.
Because
That's
I'm
how
like,
I operate in that.
Because I'm like, I definitely could see myself, of course, being super into somebody and then they do something and I'm like, absolutely no.
I think if I started talking to you in baby voice, I could get you to feel real ick about me and it might end up.
Should we try this as an experiment in the house? We see how far Evan can push me to give me the ick.
But it's like serious. If I was seriously just walking around and I was like, I'm hungry.
Yeah, that would be really hard.
Like you just felt it right there. You just felt it.
Chill down the
She just felt the ick chill. It was a cold wind that the worm is nearby.
But like you do things that embarrass me, right?
Oh yeah.
For example, here's an example. We were at California Adventure a couple days ago and we were in Cars Land and Evan started very loudly impersonating Tomater, the car.
So the Tomater car, he's like a truck and is that what his name is? Tomater?
Tomater.
Yeah. We were in line and in the line, he's like telling you the instructions. Like, come on around, you got to get in line and all this shit. And then he's like, keep your hands and arms inside the thing. So then we're with our friend and it's Jess and then Ember. And I just at full volume, start
like
going
so loud,
doggies, like so loud that like
so
everyone.
loud.
I was like, come on down And I was like, go have a good time. And I was just like screaming loud, dude. And people were laughing, but it was like, my whole goal was just to make them like so embarrassed laughing. And they were dying laughing. Yeah. But I feel like it was maybe in that moment that and I've always kind of done that kind of stuff. But
no, that's my example, is that he'll do these things sometimes that he knows are going to, because they make me laugh, but they embarrass the shit out of me. And I'll be like dying laughing, but I'm like, oh my God, I am humiliated. Can we take the volume down 10?
Just to make her laugh, and then everyone else is embarrassed. But I feel like it was at that tomato moment that I truly became a father, because
you really did.
Right.
Because that is the ultimate thing, right? The ultimate power. And this is something I realized too, that embarrassment is power. The ability to embarrass someone means you hold power over them. So I felt in that moment the classic like dad embarrassing his kid at school, like don't embarrass me kind of thing. I was like, oh, I have fully become that guy.
Well, next time you think you are holding power over me by embarrassing me, I'll just call security. I'll be like, I don't know this man. Can you please escort him off the premises? He's shouting, okay?
But Ember loved it.
She did, I know.
Ember was laughing. She goes, do it again. Embarrass him. So like I haven't quite nailed that. Although the one thing, when I drop Ember off at school, she's terrified of me having music on while I pull up.
Terrified of
She's like, turn off. Oh
my God.
And then she cruises up. She's like, hey, how's it going? But the worst thing I could do is just like blast my music at like while we're pulling up and the doors open. Isn't that funny? Do you remember that? I remember like going to school in junior high and being dropped off at the movie theater. And like the worst thing you could ever do is have your parents pull up to the front of the movie theater and drop you off in front of everyone. It was always like dropping off a block.
And then when Ember's
and like
dad is
walk
pulling up and he's blasting his music.
Yeah.
You got the windows rolled down. You're like, hey, lady. It's just like,
I'm just, life is a highway. I want to ride. Good night. Have a good day, Amber. All night long.
Well, you do that shit that embarrasses me. Also, the dog reaction can really embarrass me.
So that embarrasses you.
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying. These things embarrass me, but I think if it wasn't you, I'd be like, ick. Like, get out of here. If it would have been my ex and he would have done that, I would have been like, this is so humiliating. Mm-hmm. No, my ick is like through the roof. But because it's you, it makes me laugh and I feel embarrassed. And I'm like, oh my God. But no, he has this reaction to dogs because he loves dogs so much, which I also do. Mm-hmm. And so when we see a dog, of course, you're like, oh my gosh, can I say hi to your dog? Can I pet your dog? Evans has, when he sees a dog, especially a dog that he finds to be cute, he has this like visceral reaction that is so extreme. And Evan is just a low-key guy 99.9% of the time, unless he's trying to embarrass me in a line. But when he sees a cute dog, it's like something takes over him and he will like shout and he'll be like, oh my God, I love you at the dog.
That's my number one move, is I say I love you.
And he'll be like talking to the dog and be like, I love you so much. And the owner standing there like doesn't know how to react. Like, oh my God, this very like tall, broad man is like, I love you. You're like, oh my God.
Yeah. I get like on my hands and knees.
And I'll be like, please stop. Like, please stop. It's too much. Just tone it down a little bit. But that is my example. Like, these are moments that would give me the ick normally. But with you, it just embarrasses the shit out of me. But I don't have the ick. Have I ever given you the ick?
Well, not the ick, because we wouldn't be together if you gave me the ick.
But by some people's standards, we would. Of their definition of the ick. This is my whole thing.
You do one thing that I'm not a huge fan of, that I think if it was someone else might really bother me. She eats in bed sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
He just goes,
no, she's not eating like pastrami sandwiches in bed.
Like Cheez-Its or goldfish.
Exactly.
But I will eat a pastrami sandwich in bed if I'm cold enough.
I think for me, when I walk in and then there's like, you're like, even if you're just working, there's something about being in, like she loves being in bed, right? She like loves to work from bed.
I do.
I am not a huge like be in bed all day guy.
Do I give you like
kind of just makes me feel like you
Willy
should
Wonka
get out.
vibes?
Yeah. You know the old, the grandparents that live in their bed and they have like the four of them are in bed all day long.
I would happily live in bed.
I think I'm a little bit like, okay, time to get out of bed. Let's not eat in there. I think it's cool to chill in there, play video games or whatever, Zelda. But when we've been in bed and then it's meal time, we get out of bed.
Yeah.
So that is one of those things where I clock it for a second, go, not my favorite, but I don't. But I think if it was someone else, it'd be really not my favorite.
But if you were like had just started seeing a girl and you were staying at her apartment every once in a while, and you noticed that she was always eating and working in bed, you'd be like, I think I might have the ick.
It'd be interesting. Yeah, it might do the. You know what I mean? If I was already a little bit on the fence, that might push me over the edge. You know, you already locked me in, so like we're already married with a kid, and then she's doing it. You know what I mean? So, and it's a newer development too. This wasn't something you always did, or did you just do it when I wasn't around?
I've always done it.
Okay, well, then our marriage is a sham, and we were based on this lie.
I feel like being a mom and a dad like transcends ick. Like both of the things you're describing are very dad energy to like embarrass your family.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, that nurturing love of a dog, or like, you know, for Jess, it's like bringing breakfast in bed to your mom. Like we all did that.
That's
right?
true.
You know,
interesting.
That is interesting.
Very
now
wise.
I know, Uncle Lee, but I will say, you know, there are plenty of married people who absolutely have the ick for each other.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm like, my mom and dad.
Yeah, people get the ick. Don't get it twisted, Lee. Like you're right. It can bring you together, but it can also develop icks you've never even seen. You know what I mean? I think there's a lot of people that probably were great before and then had a kid and then like saw certain behaviors and go, whoa, I didn't know you were capable of that.
Yeah, that's my thing though with this whole definition. Is that
Maybe
the
there
ick,
are.
or is that like, no, this person, I don't appreciate these character traits, they're not good. And that's the whole, in my opinion, that's a very different thing than the ick. When I think about the ick, I always think about kind of very, like I said, very specific, kind of random things that can really like just be like, nah, I'm done.
Yeah.
Not like character flaws so much.
Yes.
But I'm curious. Let us know in the comments your thoughts on the ick, what your definition is of the ick.
Yeah.
What are your icks? Do you have any icks that you've experienced, Lee?
definitely like being rude to like waiters, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, that's a no-go.
Like, I like the fungus definition. Like, I think the ick, it's like you notice it once and then it's everywhere. And then you can't stop seeing it. It's like ants or like roaches or something like that.
Or like Teslas.
Yeah, there's not just like there's just not one. And then like suddenly all you see is ick and then it's over.
See, I completely agree with you. And that's why I believe that the beginning of the ick to me is always the end of a relationship. Because at least for me, I'm like, I can't get over. It's just everything then will become an ick to me.
It begs the next question. Can you unstick the ick?
Well, apparently...
Can you get the ick, be disgusted by that person because of the way they move or breathe or whatever it is? Can that person change that behavior to where you don't see it anymore? But now is it more like it's just the fungi has infected the whole body to where you're even looking, now it's over. See,
this is what I'm curious what people would say, because like I was saying, these articles I'm reading alludes to the idea that the ick can be unsticking the ick. In my opinion, I can't imagine getting the ick and then unsticking. The ick will always stick.
Right.
Once the ick sticks, it's stuck and we're done.
The ick won't quit. And you can't unstick the ick. You know what? This makes me want to hear from the family. Yeah. Like stories about like I met this person, it was amazing, and then I got the ick and this is what it was.
Oh my gosh, should we do a shout out to the voicemail line?
Yeah. Please do that.
If you've got some good the ick stories, yes, let's do that. Instead of our call home next week, we'll do some ick stories.
Ick stories, because it's fascinating to me too. And I also, as a parting comment, I feel bad for the person that gets broken up with because of ick, because it's nothing really they meant to do or did intentionally. True. It's one thing if you cheated, you lied.
Yeah, you're doing things again. To me, I also feel like being rude to waits. Like if you're a rude person, I'm just
different.
Like that's on you.
Right. That's just that's just not a good person. But like if you're just like if you're at your girlfriend's house and I'm sitting there and the way I'm brushing my teeth gives her the ick, and she's just kind of watching me, And she doesn't know why, but it's just like really grossing her out. And then like 2 weeks later, just we never talk again. There is a level of like, shit, now every time I brush my teeth, I'm so in my head about it. Cause she just goes, I'll be honest with you, just the way you brush your teeth just creeped me out. And it just made me feel like we're not on the same page. Like that can happen to people.
But you know what? And then I feel bad for the people who have to break up after they have the ick, because that's a hard conversation to have. To be like, you know what, I don't know what to tell you, but it's just not going to work. And then when someone asks questions and you're like, I have to explain this, I don't know how to explain it. It's just a feeling that I have, and it's just not going to work. Which
begs another question before we leave again. This is an endless conversation. Do you lie when you get the ick from someone, and it's just general? It's just the way that like,
and they're not doing anything wrong.
Yeah, let's say the way they're talking on the phone.
Yeah.
It just bugs you. You're like, that's weird. The way they move and the way they act and the way their voice changes and the way they kind of change their personality, or who knows what it could be. Could be so, like, that's a real ick that could possibly happen. Do you say, because it's very Seinfeld, you know what I mean? It's like, do you say like the way you talk on your phone, the phone drives me nuts, we can't be together? You can't say that.
No,
you just say like, oh, it's not working.
Right. Yeah, no, there's no need to get deep into the exact, icks if they're not, again, something that's making the individual like not a great person.
Yeah.
I think, you just say, I don't know, that's just not there. I just don't think that it's going to work out.
And then they go,
and then if they
was it when I was on the
question-
phone? And you're like, I was like, this is happening my whole life. I don't take calls in front of anyone because of this.
No need to make someone insecure. You know what I mean? Those are your own personal icks. I'm like, when I think about the ex, I'm like, he wasn't doing anything wrong. Like, there's no need for me to make him insecure about the way that he, operates in the world.
This is a fascinating conversation. I could talk about the ick for hours.
I know. But we do have to talk about The Bachelor. We have to talk about The Bachelor, which does include...
There's some ick.
Like I was saying, that's what Dr. Diane and Dave were talking about. It's just there was some ick crossover. Okay, before we dive into The Bachelor, we got to take a quick pause. Family, you have heard us talk about them for forever, and it's because we want to save you valuable time and money. And no more unnecessary trips to the post office, okay? No one needs that parking lot chaos, please. But with Stamps.com, you can level up your small business and set your year up for success. We've used Stamps.com for business and personal use in our home for years.
For so long.
Millennia, practically.
For 25 years, Stamps.com has been indispensable for over 1 million businesses. Use Stamps.com to print postage wherever you do business. All you need is a computer and a printer. You get access to the USPS and UPS shipping services you need to run your business right from your computer anytime, day or night. No lines, no traffic, no waiting.
And by the way, postage rates have increased again. Luckily, Stamps.com has the best discounts in the industry with rates you literally cannot find anywhere else, like up to 84% off USPS and UPS. Plus, Stamps.com automatically tells you your cheapest and fastest shipping options. And if you sell products online, Stamps.com seamlessly connects with every major marketplace and shopping cart. It literally could not be easier. They've saved me so much time and money over the years.
Set your business up for success when you get started with Stamps.com today. Sign up at Stamps.com/momdad for a special offer that includes a 4-week trial plus free postage and a free digital scale. No long-term commitments or contracts. Just go to Stamps.com/momdad.
So for a lot of us, scheduling doctor's appointments and checking in with where you're at health-wise is an important constant in life. But what about your reproductive health? That's where modern fertility comes in. The traditional guidance with fertility has just been just wait and see, but no. Knowledge is power. And when you know more, you can make better decisions for you, for your body, your health, and your future. Whether you're wanting children now, looking for that in the future, or don't want to have children, having that knowledge about your body is so important. And that's why modern fertility was created. It is an easy and affordable way to test your fertility hormones at home with a simple finger prick. Mail it in with a prepaid label and you'll get your personalized results within 6 business days. When I took my modern fertility test, I was shocked at how quickly I had my results and all the information that was provided in them. You'll get insight into your hormone levels, like your ovarian reserve and other important factors that can impact your fertility. The results go deep into what every hormone means. And I love this, you can also download the results to review with your doctor for next steps.
Traditional hormone testing at a fertility clinic can cost over $600, but modern fertility tests the same general set of hormones for only $179. And if you go to modernfertility.com/momdad, you can get $20 off your test. Plus, you can get reimbursed for the test through your FSA/HSA.
I love modern fertility, and clinically sound information about your body can truly help you make the decisions that are right for you. And right now, Modern Fertility is offering our listeners $20 off the test when you go to modernfertility.com/momdad. That means your test will cost $159, which is a fraction of what it would cost at a fertility clinic. This is an amazing offer. Get $20 off your fertility test when you go to modernfertility.com/momdad, modernfertility.com/momdad. Okay, so should we get into this episode?
What are we doing here?
What are we doing here? What is the point of this conversation?
Why am I taking a break from Zelda if not to talk about The Bachelor, okay? Because the second this is over, Daddy's gonna go traverse the world, okay? I'm gonna traverse the world, get some mushrooms, get some apples from the tree, get some arrows, and I'm gonna go take down the kingdom. What's the bad guy's name?
Ganon.
Ganon's got it coming. Okay, let's rock and roll.
Well, you were having to take a break from Zelda, which I'm sure Zach would have appreciated in his hotel room when he was out with the vid, which we start this episode off. They are now in Estonia.
Yes.
So we don't know how long that waiting period was in between.
Yeah.
We're not sure how long they stayed in London. You know, we're really left with a lot of questions.
Yeah.
I also had this just fantasy of, again, not knowing how long Zach was quarantined in his hotel room. I just like the idea of him relentlessly FaceTiming Sean Lowe. Just a relentless FaceTime.
Yeah, he's just like, what are you doing now? No, he's like, dude, I'm putting my kid to bed. He's like, fantastic. Call me after. I'd love to catch up about a couple things. He's like, dude, nothing's happened in the last 3 hours. You're still in your hotel room. He's like, I just had a business idea. I think me and you should go in on a pizza spot together.
Maybe a leather glove spot.
Zach and Sean. Yeah. Leather glove. We also sell leather gloves and pepperoni pizzas. Let me ask you a question. What's better than leather gloves and pepperoni pizzas? Nothing. Let's get in business together. Sign it. 50-50. It's called The Bachelor. It's just like the worst, like the least creative person ever. He's like, let's call it The Bachelor's Leather Glove and Pizza Shop. Sean, pick up your phone. Why aren't you answering?
It's just the idea of Sean having to reach out to producers and being like, you need to take his phone away. Like, I don't know who gave him his phone, but y'all are letting him FaceTime me 24/7. This needs to be put to a stop. Like, this was not in my contract. He's on
a phone that's locked and all it allows for him to do is FaceTime. And
just Sean.
To Sean. There's one number in there. Sean, say hi to the kids for me. And Sean's like calling producers being like, this was not a part of my contract. Like, dude, this is incessant.
Someone needs to put a stop to it.
Zach's like, if you don't, I won't get you paid if you don't answer this call. Oh, Sean, we're such good friends.
Oh my God, I just love that idea. So they are in Estonia, and that's when we find out, with a little Jesse and Zach grabbing an espresso moment, a big buddy talk.
Hey, bud. You know, it's got that. It's got, hey, so how we doing after that long week? Dude, I will say, Zach's smile was like massive. Did you notice that? He was so excited to be out of his room.
Yeah,
he was just like, man, the people. It's like, what are those things flying in the sky?
Oh my God.
Are those like birds? Were the super birds? Like, what are those?
Do you remember getting out of quarantine and you feel better too?
Yeah.
It's like he's flying high.
He was so pumped.
No, he was definitely in a much better mood, which is why I do have some then thoughts when I was talking about his reaction to Greer last week. And, you know, saying, well, he's probably stressed, not feeling good. Yeah. Well, some of that carried over even when he is feeling good. So got some questions about that.
We get on the stand, Zach.
Got some questions about that one. But that's when we find out that they say, by the way, they say Greer is under the weather. Mm-hmm. And then they say she's asymptomatic, but feeling under the weather.
That's like a classic, like when you're trying to like not say COVID because you're afraid you're going to get flagged or like that the show's going to, people are going to ask questions. she's feeling under the weather. She's really down and out. But don't worry, her sickness is asymptomatic.
No, that's like just this quick, just trying to like brush everything under the rug. Be like, don't ask any questions, audience, about our protocol and why for some reason. I mean, like there are so many questions I have about this protocol going on.
Yeah,
they just were like, don't even question
it's just
it.
so funny.
She's under the weather. She's asymptomatic though.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're good. We're good.
Yeah.
Move on. I mean, what is going on?
Gabby, who made out with him that day, is now part of the group. Like, it's just all silly at this point. But like, I also love no one ever says like I like how they don't just say she has COVID, because then later Jess just goes
Jess was like Greer has COVID. She has COVID, and we're like, okay, what were we stepping around before? Like, just say it.
Just
okay.
say it.
So thank goodness though that Charity gets the one-on-one date.
Yeah,
I was sweating.
I was ready for them to pull that.
And I'm like I said last week, I'm like, if they pull a fast one on Charity and decide to postpone her one-on-one or consider what happened last week a one-on-one, I will rage in the streets. Thank goodness they gave Charity that one-on-one. Now, what happened before the one-on-one made the episode take quite an interesting turn because Zach shows up. Again, we don't know the timeline. So it could have been, 5 days since he saw the women, or it could have been 2 weeks. We really don't know. But it's been an extended amount of time in Bachelor timeline when 24 hours means you're engaged.
Yes.
So if Zach's gone for a week, that's like, a big deal.
That's actually true. I never thought about it that way.
But he shows up. All the women are so excited. And this is the first time the women are seeing him since he's been gone. So there are two things happening. One, it's very much like hey, no one's seen him. So this is all of our moment for a beat as a group. But then the second part is we know that Charity had the one-on-one that got canceled. So now this is really Charity's moment. Because at this point now, there's only Jess and Ariel and Greer, I guess, but Greer's quarantined. Jess and Ariel who have not had a one-on-one date. So it's getting closer and closer. And so it's like, no, this is Charity's moment. Most of you women at this point now have had one-on-ones. So this is Charity's moment. Okay? It's the group's moment at first and then Charity. It's not Kat's moment. Okay? No. This isn't the time to single out a moment for yourself, especially if you've already had a one-on-one. If Jess or Ariel happened to pull him aside, I would have a little more like, okay, they haven't had a one-on-one, so they're feeling like they need to have that moment. But no, Kat's had a one-on-one. But in the middle of this group hang where everyone is excited to see Zach again, Kat says, can I talk to you for a second?
Yeah.
Which, again, typically in this franchise always alludes to, we need to have a discussion because there's a problem.
Sure.
She pulls him into the hall for a quick catch-up and make-out session right before Charity's date. In the Bachelor world, this is forbidden.
It was very...
This is forbidden.
It was a dirty
you don't
move, for
do
sure.
this. You do not do this.
Also, she left her mark with the lip gloss.
She did.
So that was like a way to it was like she pissed on the tree. You know what I mean? She's like, tss, tss, this is my guy.
I wonder if she applied before.
Yeah, so when you come back and you're like, hey, Jess, let's go on our date. And like, I have lip gloss on from this girl sitting next to me. You know what I mean? It's like a way to get in your head.
1,000%.
Don't know if she did it on purpose, but if it was accidental, it was an accidental genius move to really rattle people.
I mean, like I said, Bachelor world, this is foreboding.
Yes.
Okay? Now, you can do whatever you want, right? This is a TV show. You're going to play a move that in my opinion is disrespectful to pull the lead, but you're like, I'm going to get my time with him. That's on you. You can do that. You have the option to do that. My biggest issue that came with this whole thing is that you made that call, but then you couldn't handle any of the repercussions or reactions from the women afterwards. That was a huge issue that I took with Kat. Because if honestly Kat would have had her moment with Zach, pulled him aside right before Charity's date, even though, what? Why are you doing it to Charity? Okay, of all people, I love you, Charity. And it's like taking the fact that her whole date got canceled and all of that. But if you're going to do it, if Kat would have gone and grabbed Zach and been like, you know what? I made this call. Yeah. I had my moment with him. This is my moment. We made out. And then I came back in and the women were kind of saying like, what the heck was that about? If she would have been like, sorry about it, and stood firm and be like, yeah, I understand that it was a dirty move, but that's what I'm going to do. I wouldn't have liked it, but I would have been like, well, she's owning what she did. She could not handle any of the feedback or any of the frustration that the women had.
Yeah. It was, first of all, I loved that it gave Brooklyn something to light up about, because Brooklyn seems to be the only one in the house that has a little bit of fire in her belly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everyone else is just sweet, sweet, sweet candy crush all day long. Brooklyn's the only one that kind of waits for this and is like, yes. And then she kind of can pounce, you know, because like no one said anything. Charity was like, that was kind of rude. And then Brooklyn immediately just goes, bam, bam, bam. Yeah, I mean, the cat move was classic, like, villain move. You know what I mean? It was a classic villain move.
Which I do say, okay, great, because now we get some villain energy.
Yeah,
finally.
It was a classic villain move. But to me, there's nothing better than someone who thinks in their mind that they're an angel and then pulls moves like that. Because if you're a villain, like, you're intentionally saying, fuck everyone. I'm going to do whatever I want to do.
Yeah, I'm not going to go. I'm not going to deal.
The classic, I didn't come here to make friends. You know what I mean? The classic thing.
Like, I'm not going to go by the rule book on this.
I'm not going to go by the rule book.
I'm going to divert, and I know that it's not really acceptable in this franchise, but I'm going to make the call to do it anyway. And then I'm going to recognize that I will get feedback, negative feedback from the other women.
Yeah.
But then I have to own that.
I'm going to go do this thing. I'm going to undermine your date. I'm going to get in his head to where I just made out with this girl right before my date. So now I haven't touched or talked directly to one of these girls in over a week. So she made it clear that, like, I'm going to be the thing you remember for the day, kind of, and be the worm in your brain a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kat comes back to the group, gets barbecued for it, and then plays the victim card. Like, how? I was just having him like
I know the amount of times that she threw out the word aggressive was wild,
harsh. But what I love about that approach is it boils everyone's blood, because there's nothing more raging than when someone does something wrong and then goes like, "What? Why are you being so mean to me?" You know what I mean? It's like, that is like, oh, there's nothing more enraging. Like, if you're mad at someone and you call someone out and then they fight you back, at least you're just like, you're boxing. But if someone hits you over the head when you're not looking, then you turn around and swing at them and they go, ah, you know what I mean? It's like the ultimate way to just, like, you're like, so, because then you could see that like Brooklyn kind of went at her. You could see Brooklyn then kind of start kind of almost questioning herself a little bit, because you're like, wait, did I go too hard? Because she's not responding to me. Like, Kat did a great way of, like, messing with their minds.
Oh, I mean, you were sitting with me watching it. I was starting to panic. Like, it set off a trigger in my brain 1,000%, because I would have been like, excuse me, like, why are we upset by this? Especially when the conversation continued throughout the rest of the episode, and she kept making comments about, like, well, I don't want to talk about this right now because this isn't the right time for me. And then everyone's going, the right time? Yeah. The irony of this, that you went and snagged him and made out with him right before Sweet Charity's date, and it's now in her head, right? She sees the lip gloss fresh on Zach's lips right before she has her date. Talk about the right time.
And especially, too, which was brutal about it, was like, she did the shady move that totally undermined her, quote, friend's date, you know, completely made everyone uncomfortable. It was not the worst thing in the world. It was just a whatever, but it was a here's what I'll say, especially for these group of girls who are all, like, perfect with each other and nice to each other and never step on each other's toes. It was the first clear boundary crossing competitive move that's happened.
It was betrayal in the house, yes.
And especially for this house that's, like, so connected and no one does anything wrong.
Well, and again, too, like you said, like, the whole, like, the comment about it being aggressive was just so wild, because the whole conversation starts off with Allie so calmly being like, hey, what was that? Like, if that was my date, I would have gotten in my head. Like, I don't know if that was the right move. And then Brooklyn was just like, that wasn't cool. And then Kat was just like, I mean, just shut down.
I'm grateful for Brooklyn because she represents the audience's mind.
Yes, she does.
You know what I mean?
She does. And then that's the thing too. And then Kat just kept saying like, why can't I have my moment?
Yeah.
Why can't I have my moment? And it's like, well, okay, again, you already had a one-on-one date.
Yes.
Everyone wants their moment right now. And you know what? Technically, you could have your moment. You could take him into the hall and make out with him. But if you're going to choose to have your moment, you're going to have to understand there will be repercussions and the women will have hurt feelings and not be happy about it. And then you have to own that. You can't just be like,
or you can just gaslight everyone and then make everyone feel crazy, and that's another tactic. And she employed that tactic.
well, and then even
Which is a
Brooklyn
little more
said,
effective. I'll be honest with you, it is more effective at making people lose their minds.
well, and then Brooklyn was just like, and then I loved what Brooklyn said too. Then after she said, Kat said, why can't I have my moment? Brooklyn was like, well, that's my opinion. If you don't feel that way, you don't have to.
Right.
But just like you're saying, why can't I have my moment? Brooklyn's going, well, that's my opinion and I can have my opinion too.
Yeah.
Boom. Bottom line. Brooklyn was nailing them up. She said something like, well, you can lace that bitch right up. But I was
it was like if the shoe fits, then lace that bitch up.
I mean, she just was having taglines and I was just
and then
like,
she went to go talk to Ariel.
Brooklyn.
Ariel shut her down too, which I thought was interesting.
Ariel, I loved what Ariel said with Kat. And Ariel, Kat right away, she said the same thing. Why can't I have my moment? This is my moment. And she said something about, all the rules went out the window with COVID.
Yeah,
if it wasn't COVID, I wouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
And Ariel's like, well, respect, though, is like the through line. So you did do it.
Yeah.
And it's not respectful. Ariel was absolutely crushing that
Ariel's like
conversation too.
an attorney.
I know.
Super smart and not swayed. Mm-hmm. And so she went to the wrong person for any sort of like condolences.
Even though later Ariel wanted to check on her at the cocktail party.
Yeah,
after
she's just really
the argument,
nice.
and Ariel was just like, "Should we go
that
check on her?"
That was actually really funny.
Gabby's like, "I think it's in our best interest to not get involved in this
then
one."
Gabby did that one. She's like, "Okay, do not say anything until you have a lawyer there. Do not say anything." She was like, "It is not in our best interest to go anywhere near her right now because this could end bad. You do not want to be on that side."
As far as the play of this show goes, that was a good move on Gabby's part.
That was a good move.
That it was like, well, let's not. It's not in our best interest right now. We all have seen what Zach does when there's any sort of drama around, and you're gonna get cut if you bring it up. Mm-hmm. So wouldn't go there.
Yes,
wouldn't go there.
No.
Okay, well, let's talk about Charity's date.
Yeah.
I first and foremost, I love Charity so much.
She's just so sweet.
She's so wonderful. She's fun. She's funny. She's kind. She's charming. Everything we've seen of her, like on the show, especially the way that she's supported the other women in the house. And I love later when she has her conversation with Kat.
Yeah.
Everything about Charity, I just
Charity,
love.
when she smiles, her soul smiles.
Yeah, it's true.
When I
and
smile,
then my soul smiles.
What?
When her soul smiles, my soul smiles.
Like people are different that way. Like when I smile, just my mouth smiles. You know what I mean? When Charity smiles, you like actually feel it. You're like, whoa.
You like your day gets better.
Yeah. When I smile, you're like, he's just doing this so that his face doesn't look mean. He's trained. But you know what I mean? Like there's a difference. Like her eyes smile and her face smiles and her energy like changes,
yeah,
you know?
It changes the room.
Yeah.
She's got that energy about her.
Yeah.
Well, thank God she had the date.
Yeah.
And so they were going around Estonia. You know, she had the whole carriage.
It looked kind of like a fairy princess land a little bit. It kind of had this like
it really did.
European village town vibe, which was cool.
So quaint. But yeah, so she had her carriage, and then they stumbled upon a local wife carrying contest, which is apparently a popular sport in Estonia where you have to, quote, carry your wife gently but really fast. And I have something to say.
To get away from tigers? Like, what was this? What did this come from?
I mean, I'm sure not sure. But all I have to say is this was the most intense physical date I think we've ever seen. Zach took Charity, and this man, the aggression in which he ran was so out of control. I'm like Charity said, her face is in his ass.
Yeah, bouncing.
Her legs are wrapped around his neck. And this man does not delicately run and think, hey, you know what? Her face is right there. No. She could get a bloody nose. She could injure her neck. This could be a whole level of issues. And he went so hard and he jumped over all of those posts so wildly, and Charity was just getting tossed around. I was panicking the entire time watching it that I was like, you're going to injure her.
Her head was like bobbing, and it was like the hair was going everywhere, and she was like being shook. You know what it was? It's like if you were to meet a giant and he was to grab your ankle and shake you for change.
Yes.
That's what it was like. You know what I mean? Like if she was to grab you and just shake you and just like try to get all of the things out of your pockets, and you're like, whoa, that's basically what was happening. She was just like, whoa.
It was like, I was like, Zach.
And he was going hard. I was like,
Zach,
bro, you know, if you win, this doesn't mean anything, right?
You know that you're the Bachelor and this was fully set up to be filmed. Okay, it doesn't matter if you win.
And you're
it
racing
doesn't
against
matter
like a
if you win.
58-year-old man.
Like just you know, be like a gentleman and walk smoothly and make sure I know that the man told you that it's about going really fast, but you have precious cargo.
Me go fast with wife.
You have precious cargo hanging from your body, and you are jumping over these like a steed at full speed.
And then Charity goes with that beautiful smile. She goes, "I hated it." She was just like trying to be cool. She's like, "I hated it, but you know, I loved it, but like I hated it."
I was like,
it's like, yeah, anyone would hate that. It was awful.
I was like, why is this man so competitive right now? And then afterwards, the guy was like, wow, that was great. And he's like, yeah, you know, I'm an athlete, did athletics. Da, da, da. And I'm like, Zach, this isn't the high school football team, okay? You have a beautiful woman on your back. Just walk smoothly through the course, okay?
Let me just put you on my back and run with you. Like it felt very like 1300s, like weird, just like, what am I watching right now?
No, it was wild. I couldn't get over the aggression at which he ran with his date on his back, his girlfriend on his back, his first one-on-one with Charity. Gabby gets this glorious Jimmy Choo, you know, royal date, and Charity is dealing with competitive Zach while his big brother Jesse Palmer is in sunglasses.
It's a CIA agent.
Incognito with the audience.
It was so random. He was like, they shoot to him, and he looked like the guy in a movie where he attends the funeral of the guy he just like assassinated. You know what I mean? To like see if the gang members or the mafia
or like check on the family.
Yeah, to see if the mafia is showing up to the funeral. You know, at every movie it happens like this. Like the cops go to like the funeral, and they're like, okay, there's Gambino, there's, you know, whatever. They all come to the wedding, hey, condolences. And then they're like, oh, there he is, follow him. That's what he was like. He was sitting there like shades on watching the wife carrying competition, like not saying a word.
I know, with his coffee.
And it just cut to him for no reason at all. It was so
and
random.
He was just in the crowd.
Yeah, it was so weird.
He looked pretty badass.
He did look good.
Lie. This one of those moments where I was like,
guy.
okay, JP, you're looking pretty slick right now, just like hiding in the audience.
Right.
Maybe he was just bored. He's like, for the love of God, they only use me 5 minutes every episode
like,
of this
show. I work 4 minutes a week. Like I'd like to go on a walk. Maybe.
So you know what? Maybe I'll check out what production is cooking up today.
Right.
This wife carrying contest. See if I fancy it.
Fancy a carry?
Fancy a carry, but I mean,
and then she gets like a bag of nuts from. No, we don't. That's later. Hold on. What is she?
Well,
she
gets
a shot.
almonds. She gets a shot of something that apparently tastes like spicy pepper.
That dude, I don't believe they were in Estonia. I think they were in Silver Lake. Because that guy just looked like a hipster from Silver Lake. He literally was just wearing like a beanie with like some long clothes and like red sweats. And then they were like, oh my gosh, it's gross. He's like, yes. And like that was it. That's all they did. And it was like it was like they were just in Silver Lake, like having natural shots.
He felt like another production assistant.
Yes,
like
that
last
guy was
week, where you were like, they had him come in, and he was
Austin.
like, he's part of the camera crew.
That guy's from Austin. Like I couldn't help but think the whole time when I was watching this was like to expand on what you said. It was like 1 week ago, Gabby is in a royal hall. Playing with corgis, getting the nicest stuff on the planet.
Yeah, Jimmy Choo's,
custom fitted dresses.
Yeah,
you know, the assistant to the king is feeding you cocktails. You're getting carried on your back, a bag of nuts, and a disgusting alcohol shot. Like that's your one-on-one.
I was like, can we hook it up for charity after everything got delayed? I'd be enraged. I'm like,
enraged.
If I was Charity after that wife carrying date, I'd be like, I'm out. I'm tapping out on my own.
Well, and not to jump ahead, but when she got back, and then the girls were like, "How was the date?" She goes, "How was it? It was a nice time, and what we did was we kind of what did we do? We did stuff. How do I say this? That is kind of." traditional Estonian experiences. Like that's the only way she could describe her date. It was just like that was it. And then meanwhile, like Gabby was just like, gosh, 14
Gabby's
bags.
just like
And
showing
she's like,
off
I'm halfway through my date. Like, dude, like
I know.
It just
And
sucked.
Charity is just such a sweet person,
Yeah.
had such great energy and was joking her way through it. I would have been such a fucking grump afterwards. I would have just been like, come on, can you give me something big after I got delayed and had to go through all that last week too? Also, after Zach had COVID, I'm like, don't make that man run. Maybe he seemed to enjoy it. He went real hard. He was trying to prove that he could really
finally
still
I can get outside.
get some fresh air in my leather gloves.
I'm a caged animal in there.
Well, cut to the night portion. And that was at a stunning manner, I will say. It was those long hanging chandeliers, though they were so low, so gorgeous. And that's then when Charity opened up and talked about her past relationship that was emotionally abusive. And again, just like the conversation with Brooklyn, it was just one of those moments where it's like, of course, this vulnerability and conversation is not owed to anyone, but it was just a moment where Charity was willing to be so vulnerable and share with Zach and also the audience. And it's just has to be just such an impactful moment for so many people watching and having also experienced what Charity's experienced. So she's just incredible. And, she opened up about that, and Zach did comfort her and was there for her.
Like every single time he has a conversation about someone and they're talking about something either traumatic or tough, he's really good at sitting in that and then like being there for them. I will say, like, he's very good at it.
No, and Zach, it's very
I always
clear.
think about even if I was on that show, like what would I say in that moment if they're telling me this intense thing and like would I say the wrong thing? He's so calm in that. He just says it and he's like very much.
I mean, it's very clear
that
that Zach is, when he likes the person, when he's interested, and he clearly definitely likes Charity a lot.
Definitely.
When he is interested, he is very present and a great listener and processes through that very well. And we've seen that now numerous times in conversations that he really does. And, she says too that she felt safe sharing it with Zach. So obviously the energy that he was putting out there as well was making Charity feel safe and comfortable. And Zach then confirms at the end that he's like, there's absolutely something here. So he's making it clear, and we can tell just by his energy, it's very clear all over Zach when he feels a certain way about someone that he definitely likes Charity. And he ends up giving her a rose. And I say Charity's top 3.
Okay. I feel that too.
I say Charity's top 3.
I agree.
And I sure hope that Charity's our bachelorette.
Oh, that would be.
She'd be an amazing bachelorette. Amazing bachelorette.
Yeah.
Okay, before we dive deeper in, we have to take a quick pause. Okay, family, listen, I don't have to say it. You all know my journey with cooking and how it's not my number one skill, which is why we are so grateful for HelloFresh. With HelloFresh, it is a time in my life where I get to feel like a top-level gourmet chef, baby. They make it so simple to easily make the most delicious meals.
We are stocked up.
Yes, we are.
With HelloFresh, you get farm-fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. HelloFresh now has 40 weekly recipes to choose from. And no matter your lifestyle or meal preferences, HelloFresh has recipes sure to please everyone at your table. Also, you'll only find quality ingredients in HelloFresh's recipes. In fact, ingredients travel from the farm to your home in less than 7 days, so you know they're fresh.
I personally love their fast and fresh recipes, which is their latest line of meals. I am talking robust flavors and filling portions that are ready in less than 15 minutes, okay? Everything I've tried has been so good, but the other day I made their, it was the Southwest pork and bean burrito.
Ooh.
And holy smokes. Sorry, ate that all up.
So
Ate both portions of that before you could get home. It was
really loved that.
So delicious. Also, on another note, this has been a great way for us to save money, cutting back on expensive takeout and delivery while it's still being delicious restaurant quality meals, okay? And it cuts down on food waste with those pre-portioned ingredients.
Go to HelloFresh.com/MomDad65 and use code MomDad65 for 65% off plus free shipping. That's HelloFresh.com/MomDad65 and use code MomDad65 for 65% off plus free shipping. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit.
Okay, so next we have the group date.
Yeah.
Next we have the group date, but before the group date is when everyone was talking with Charity, and what I loved that Charity said, I was so into it that she slipped it in, and she was talking about how the day was special, but she tried to block out some things that happened before.
And I bet she wouldn't have said that if the date was cooler. Like if she had a legit date that was amazing, you'd kind of be like, whatever. I don't want to feel negative. But she probably got back from that date and she was like, damn it, that was lame as shit. So I at least got to get this off a little bit.
I mean, I disagree. I disagree.
Be like,
No.
I was gonna try to let this go, but if the date sucked, so you're gonna pay for this.
No, I think Charity was going to say something.
Yeah.
I feel like everything we've seen from Charity so far is that she's communicative about like how she's feeling.
Sure,
she's got
sure.
that therapist energy, okay, right? Like how she pulls Kat later at the cocktail party, like I mentioned before. I think she's like, okay, we're putting this out there.
Yeah.
I'm going to make something clear to you, Kat. Going into this date, well, here you are before making out with my boyfriend right before I'm about to go on this date with him.
Which I felt like you would probably feel like, I'm in an uphill battle now.
Of course.
I'm having to like fight against that energy. No, I'm seeing the gloss on his lips every time we talk. He's probably thinking about that makeout sesh.
Yes.
And they're like, I'm having to kind of like get him distracted and kind of win him over. It's like, I shouldn't be having to win him over on the one-on-one.
Of course. And especially since Zach's already had a one-on-one date with Kat and it went well. So then, of course, if I'm Charity, I'm in my head the entire time. I'm like, I know his date with Kat went well. I know that they have a connection. And now they made out beforehand. Nobody's seen him for a week plus. Who knows?
Yeah.
And now he has that memory. And now here I am having to try to, get him in a zone that's just between me and him. But yeah, she then said that. She had to try to block out some things from the day before. And then Kat immediately goes, okay, listen, yesterday was a lot and I don't want to have this convo before the group date, like not to ruin it. And that, again, it was the irony I'm talking about where you're like, you did this exact thing to Charity and now you don't want to talk about it. Then she was saying something about like, I wasn't taking someone's moment. I was having my moment. It's like, yeah, well, but you did take somebody's
Your
moment
was
whilst
inside
you had
of my moment.
Your moment was inside. The moment's inside my moment.
Yeah.
But they then start this group date and Brooklyn and Kat have some energy going on between them because Kat is like, I do not want to hear. Brooklyn is being aggressive. And Brooklyn's just like, no, now Brooklyn's brain is focused in on Kat because Brooklyn is telling it like it is. Like you said, she's the voice of the audience. But they walk into a group date that is being led by an Estonian witch, a grand witch practicing more than 20 years. Now, this date is my cup of tea, honey. It's not Greer's cup of tea. It's my cup of tea. I would have loved this. Now, Zach, on the other hand.
Real quick. Was she an Estonian witch or was she my 7th grade art teacher? Because that
She
is
did have that
exactly what
energy.
she looked like.
She did have that energy.
She had like kind of drape long clothes with like patchwork on them, and
With
then
her
like
pink hair,
and then like blonde
streaks.
hair, but like with like purple streaks in it. Like she just looked like an art teacher from 7th grade. Which, by the way, why do they all look the same?
Because they're cool as shit, babe.
They're cool, but they're always kind of like a little witchy,
They are.
right?
Maybe most of them are witches.
It's a witchy vibe. Anyway, this is
How do you think they got that good art?
Yeah, that's true. So I think this is what she does on the weekdays. Is she's a 7th grade art teacher, and then she does
And
these,
also Estonian witch.
Estonian
for
witch,
20 years,
'cause
grand witch
There's
practicing.
no way she can look like that and not teach art. It's impossible.
Well, Zach was not. This would have been like my type of date. You could tell Zach was. The producers were really having to force Zach to do this one. Zach, I feel like this maybe went against Zach's faith practices or religious practices because he was a stiff guy.
Yeah, I never heard him say anything about religion, but his uncomfortable. He was so uncomfortable.
Yeah,
that it made me think, oh, you're not used to like anything that's not traditional, because it felt like, at some point in your life you would have kind of, I don't know, gone to some thing that had something like this, but he was so out of pocket. Like he was just like, oh, okay. And she would like grab this and grab the sage, and he's like, oh, okay.
No,
like,
he just looked
was uncomfortable.
either at first I was like, either he's very into this and taking this very seriously, or he's extremely uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And later I made the assumption that he was extremely uncomfortable because he said later at the cocktail party, he was like, later that evening in the cocktail party, he was like, well, everyone, you handled the witch very well. It really could have gone either way.
And he was like, thanks for making the most of that. He's like,
I was like, what did he think the witch was going to do?
He's like, hate the sinner, not the sin. Okay. Oh, sorry. No, I fucked that up. Dave. No, he was just like, hate the sin, not the sinner. Keep reminding myself of that when there's witches about.
I did not
He's
sign
just
up
doing
for
crosses.
this.
He's like, dear Lord, please forgive everyone here.
I was loving it. This is so my cup of tea. But what's going on through this whole thing is Jess. Jess is starting to break down here. What we've been seeing throughout the episode is that Jess is like, okay, we find out that Ariel, because of this group date, is the one who is going to be getting the second one-on-one. So Jess, aside from Greer, who's quarantined, Jess is the only one who has not had a one-on-one. And now she's spiraling. She's like, does this mean something?
Yeah.
And I know I've talked in the weeks before where I'm like, okay, let's not do the whole, the crying in front of everybody so that they can't celebrate their date. I understand when you're the last person.
Oh,
I get that. When we get to that point where you're the final person who hasn't gotten the one-on-one, yeah, you're gonna cry. You're like, is it personal? Like, I don't understand what's going on.
You're out on the field and everyone's picked the football team and you're the last one. And
Exactly.
they're like, fine, Jeff's brother can play.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's like you're like by yourself on the field while the teams are stacked. I mean, that feeling could not be worse.
No. So of
And
course,
people are trying to be like, no, it's actually really great.
No.
It's actually really great. It's really great that you're the last one.
Yeah, because you're the last one-on-one. He's like really gonna remember you.
Yeah, like you're gonna be
like
so
right
memorable.
before Fantasy Suites. He's gonna really remember you, and you're like,
okay.
no, that's just not how it works. Okay, it's definitely a disadvantage because he's already developing all these deep connections with other people in earlier one-on-one dates. But of course, poor sweet Jess, while they're doing the flame ceremony and they're looking through the flame of love into each other's eyes. Which, by the way, when you stare into someone's eyes for like 5 minutes straight, you do feel
you
things.
create chemistry, right?
It's like an acting practice that they do sometimes. Like you have to stare at into your partner's eyes for like 5 minutes straight without saying anything or moving, and you start to you feel chemistry. It's quite interesting.
Or you develop the ick.
Or you get the hard ick and you're like,
could you imagine 2.5 minutes through the 5 and you get the ick and you're like, oh God, I'm having to hold this.
Maybe that's what you got to start doing to make sure that you don't have the ick with somebody.
That's true.
Make them do that practice. But while Jess and Zach are doing their flame of love moment, the flame of love goes out. It was devastating. I wanted to cry. Like, I wanted to start crying.
I felt like a producer was on the side going,
Probably.
or like one of those blower things, just to blow it out. He's like, this will be perfect. We've got her right where we like her. Jess cracking.
It literally felt like that because the timing was just too devastating. It was so devastating. And the second that candle, you saw her eyes got welled up when she walked to the side. I wanted to give her a hug. I was like, oh my God, Jess, it's okay. It's okay. But I mean, that was kind of the cap that Jess needed to continue her the downward, oh my God, I'm feeling anxious. And we later find out that she was like, I was having
panic attack.
She was saying, I was having really bad anxiety and I can't find the root cause. And I was like, I feel you, Jess. I see you. You are seen.
And she already looks like someone who's always about to cry anyway. You know how some people kind of have that look?
Yeah.
She always looks like, is that welled up? Is she welled up right now?
Yeah.
But, because we're used to seeing people on the show crack out who are, what do you call it? Extroverts. Mm-hmm. Extroverts cracking. And they're like, why is this happening to me? And they're like, I deserve this. And they're freaking out. She's a true introvert.
Seems like
so she's cracking from the inside.
Yeah.
And so when you're watching someone crack in the inside, you're kind of like, whoa, there's something more intense about it. You know what I mean? Because then she's sitting there and you could just tell she's looking at everyone and there's this her whole world's melting. You know, it was tough to watch.
I know. And she just seems so kind, and
it's honestly great that you're last.
It's great. It's really good for you. It's gonna be to your benefit.
Yeah, it's what's cool about it is you're gonna wow him right at the end. He's gonna be the last one to remember you. It's actually better.
He'll probably propose to you on your one-on-one day because it's closer to the end. Honestly. There's so few people by the time you get your one-on-one. Well, I mean, she is, and they are supporting her because she's like, this is not going well. She talks about her anxiety. Zach then shows up to the night portion of the group date, and he's having interactions with some of the ladies. I mean, he has a conversation with Katie, and it's like, oh my gosh, Katie and Gabby have to be his tops right now, right? I mean, like his conversation with Katie, that's when he was lounging. He was lounging so hard.
What's up, like, Kate?
There's something about you, Katie.
Something about you. I don't know what it is, but
I did not like that part.
It's like blowing bubbles.
I did not like that part. Well, Katie is, I mean, she seems to be like absolutely like front runner vibes for him.
Yeah.
She is, God, she's got great energy.
Great energy.
She just seems fantastic. The way that like, he's so loungy, and she's lounging right there with him. She's meeting him there. She's mirroring. She's got her arm around him saying like, where have you been all of my life? When I looked through that fire flame, like I saw you in my future. Like she's just that type of person who, man, when she likes you, like she says those things to make you feel so safe and comfortable in your relationship. And she's just, Katie is fantastic.
Kind of amazing.
She's like, fantastic.
I was expecting her to be a mean girl.
Right.
I just saw her and I thought, okay,
no.
she's at some point, the wheels are going to come off. And the super sweet, like, facade is going to go away. And then it's like, it just keeps getting more sweet. And I'm like,
she
what is happening?
She somehow is charming and funny and sparkly and all the women love her and she's supportive.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I mean.
It's like, what secrets are you hiding? Like, this is not making any sense. There's got to be something. But it is shocking though.
Oh, yeah. I felt like she took home some of that witchcraft vibe, the way that she was like in there with him. And like I said, just the way that she was saying what she was saying, I was like, oh, she's picking up some of this witchiness. And
I think the main thing too about her that I like, because I was thinking about it. I was like, what is making her so good at this?
Mm-hmm.
Zero insecurity.
It really seems
like,
that way.
Kat rushes over to like secure a moment because she's feeling insecure about the relationship. Everyone is feeling insecure. Katie has not said one word ever about how like she's devastated. She doesn't know what to do. She's feeling frustrated. No. Just smiling, sweet, laughing the whole time. Never once even hints that she's that it's getting in her head. Mm-mm. She doesn't know where she stands. I mean, it is like bulletproof.
Maybe she's faking it till you make it, or she is truly just like so confident.
Like
it doesn't seem that way. But she's very relaxed in the process.
So relaxed.
Very relaxed. And, I feel like for Zach, since he seems to waver at any potential controversy or drama or question, that I get then why Katie seems to be like very much a focus for him, because he doesn't feel like he has to have that with her at all. He's very much like, every time I talk to Katie, she's fine.
Yep.
Why are all the rest of you fine about everything?
Yeah, and she never goes, I'm just wondering where we're at, or like I wanted to kind of make sure that we're good. Never.
Oh my God, if I was on the show, I'd be shuddering in the corner the entire time.
Yeah,
or just or freaking out at somebody. But then Zach also talks to Gabby, which is going well as too. I mean, he brings up the butterflies with her. Yeah. That seems to be a pretty deep connection. But then we move on to Zach and Jess. And poor Jess now, because it's just, at this point, it just keeps getting built up higher and higher. Like now it's like, the conversation, like she's having to do these ITMs and it's like, you're the final one-on-one except for Greer, who's in quarantine. Like, how do you feel? How do you feel? And you know that she's just feeling more and more pressure. And now she's having talked to the women about it.
Yeah.
So now the stakes are so high in their conversation. So of course she's going in very nervous. But my God, the level of props and applause that I bring to Jess after this episode, count the ways that I'm obsessed with Jess with this conversation. She came out the gate. You can tell she was extremely nervous, but she right away opened up to him and she tells him that she knows what she signed up for, but she doesn't have this confidence that a lot of the other women have, and that she's really waiting for this one-on-one, that it's very hard for her to have not had this one-on-one yet so that she can open up more. I was definitely getting an energy like Jason from Gabby and Rachel's season, who was, very quiet in front of the camera and would talk about how having the camera on him would make him feel nervous. And then when he was on his one-on-one date, we saw him relax way more.
Yeah.
I definitely get that energy from Jess. She's just quieter. It takes more time for her. Like she said, she's a slow burn. So the one-on-one is vastly important. And we all know, as viewers of this show, that even if you are quieter, the one-on-one is everything.
Yes.
It's everything. I don't care if you're able to get tons of side conversations with him. Those last, 5 minutes? The one-on-one is everything.
Yeah.
You also have moments in your one-on-one where sometimes I think the camera isn't on you when you're like traveling in a car. So you have moments like alone quietly to talk while production is setting up.
Yeah.
It's important. And at first, Zach begins telling her, you have nothing to worry about. Like, we're going to have that time together. He basically is telling her like he's really into her and that time will come. And even though we haven't had the one-on-one, it doesn't matter because like I'm still vibing on you. But she's trying to get him to understand like, no, this is extremely important for me. She's communicated to him before that she wants to be pursued and feel really seen in this experience. And she's like, I need you to see that I need this and that I feel stressed and anxious right now because I don't know where I stand and I feel like I can't open up. And this is then where he then tells her that there isn't a rule book when it comes to the one-on-one and opening up, which is a...
Have you not read the book, How to Win the Bachelor? There literally is one.
There's a book. There is a book and it's fantastic. Go get it. But he says there's not this like rule book about the one-on-one. And that's not true, Zach. And that's one of those moments where I go, I'm sorry. Like, I don't know what it's like. And again, you always go, there's editing involved. Okay, there's editing involved. Maybe he said other things and there's editing that's happening around. And I can't imagine having the cameras on me and being the lead in this stressful situation. But for the love of God, what you can know as the lead is that you've been in these women's situations before and you know what the stress that they're feeling.
Yeah.
And you know, Zach, how valuable your one-on-one is. And also, he can't be talking. He got one of the earliest one-on-ones on his season. Right out the gate, he got a one-on-one. So he has no idea what it's like to have to wait for weeks and weeks for a one-on-one. So he can't even talk.
He was triggered by, like, he wasn't understanding what she was saying also. She was saying to him, time matters in this show.
Of course.
One-on-one equals time. Time matters. You're not giving me time. I don't understand. So if you're not giving me time, the only result I can come to is that we aren't connected. He's like triggered by like one-on-one, the words. Like he's like thinking, this isn't a game, like which it is. He's going like, it's not about the one-on-one. You should be confident in us and not the one-on-one. And she's going, no, you're missing my point here. I'm trying to say,
yes,
you don't want to spend time together. It's messing me up.
Yes.
And he's like, you know what? You're just missing the point here. Like, it's not about the one-on-ones. You got to just trust me. He's going, why would I trust you? The only thing that I have is you giving me one-on-ones. And he couldn't get it. And then she even said, I
don't know you, my guy.
Yeah, and then
I don't know who you are because I haven't had a one-on-one with you.
And she even said it in the car when she was crying around. She's like, we were talking about time. I needed time. He wouldn't give it to me. Well, how could he not understand that?
Yeah, she said it was so good when she's like, you expect me to go to the end of this and get a proposal? And you're upset that I want to spend time with you?
No, she goes, I wanted to go on a date. She's like, I want to go on a date with the guy that I'm supposed to get married to. And you don't understand that?
And you're mad.
Yeah.
That's the thing, man. It was just like, you're upset. And like you said, it was like that phrase, that one-on-one. Listen, dude, you know this. You were on the show. Like, I understand that you want to make sure that you find someone who's not here for quote unquote the wrong reasons, but you know how this works.
He wanted to go golfing on her birthday. And then she was like, but it's my birthday. And he's like, babe, how many times do I have to celebrate your birthday? You know that I love you. Like, why are we doing this birthday thing?
Yes.
Like, I'm hanging out with you constantly.
And she's going, no, I want you to go and enjoy your golf. Like, I love that you enjoy golf, but like, it hurts my feelings that like on my birthday, babe, that you're not going to be there to spend time with me.
I hang out with you every day. Now I want to go golf with my friends one time and you're making me do this? What about our love needs this one day for you? Why is it so important for you that your birthday is celebrated by your husband? It's unbelievable. You're giving me the ick. I'm off of you. Leave.
And that's exactly what happened.
It was just this weird thing where it was like he didn't like being challenged. And
No,
he
he did not.
He also, it's almost like it's the same thing happened to Kat. Someone disagrees with them and they think that it's like an attack on their character. And it's like, no. Like Kat was saying that about like, you're attacking my character. And they're like, no, what you did was shitty. That's it.
Yes.
We're not saying you were a shitty person about it. You're saying
no, but what you did was
classless.
shitty.
And then what Jess is saying to him is like, you not giving me time is making me feel shitty. And he's like, stop making it about the one-on-ones.
Yes.
And it's like, no. Like, you're missing the entire point.
Yes.
What you did made me feel bad.
Yes.
Discuss this.
Yes.
You know what I mean? He's trying to just blanket the whole thing with like, I should be able to do whatever I want. And if you disagree with that, you're wrong.
Yes.
That was kind of the energy.
Yes. And then the second that I got just Jess, I mean...
Dude, she out of nowhere
a legend.
just like came up and was just like an absolute badass. It was shocking.
Absolute legend. Like she did not back down. And when he then and she was making sure he heard exactly what she was saying. She knows her time is valuable, these 10 minutes, and he needs to hear her. And then you saw his face fully shut down. You saw the moment that his face went.
9 out of 10 people. 9 out of 10 people. When he goes, maybe we're just on different pages. Would have gone, no. I'm not saying that.
You're not hearing me. You're not hearing me.
No. Let's go back to where we were. Forget I said it. I wasn't trying to say that. I was just trying to say, no, stop. Like they would have done that. She doubles down. And she's like, I'm not sitting here. I'm not trying to beg for you.
Legend.
Like, I'm not sitting here trying to beg for you to love me and beg for time. Like, if I'm going to be with someone, they're going to want to be with me.
Yes.
And that's when I was like, oh, she got signed up by her friends to be on the show. I think that Jess is like, wait, I don't think this is how I want to find my husband. That's the vibe I'm getting.
She said that she was very aware going in what she was signing up for.
Right.
But I think that it's like, hey, I'm feeling anxious and I don't like the way I'm feeling. And I need to know that you want me here and you need to show me because I've communicated that to you and I need to be seen so that you can hear me when I say, I need your time. And then the way that he then just was reflecting or just pushing back on her and being like, there's no rule book, one-on-one, it doesn't matter, it's not about that, why are you focusing on that? And it's like, you're not, like, no.
Yeah.
And you know, but then when after you see him shut down,
yeah,
and he says, I feel like there's a disconnect and I'm nervous, I'm not feeling confident about us, about this, I'm sorry to say, which was very interesting because what we've seen so far of Zach is when he clearly is not like that into one of the women, that when there's any drama or confrontation that he fully shuts down and is like, you can go home now. And again, I've said it 100 times in the past few episodes, I so appreciate someone who's honest. As a lead, I think it's fantastic to be honest and direct. But we've seen now a couple times where we're going, don't like the way that you were honest. Don't like the way you handled the Greer situation when she was just trying to relate to you. Don't appreciate that. There's parts of the honesty that are great. But then when it's very clear that it's kind of like, okay, the women that he likes, he's down to like process, but then the women that he's like not necessarily like sold on, he's just be like, bye. This was an interesting one with Jess because he clearly really liked Jess. And at the top of this conversation, he was like, no, you need to know that like, I really like what's going on between us. And I like this vibe and it's good. And then when she was like, but at the one-on-one, and he's like, no, it'll come. We're good. And he started the conversation being like, trust me, I like you. We're good. And then when she pushed back on him, all of a sudden, you know, I don't think there's a connection and I don't feel confident about this.
I almost felt like it was like, he was like, I don't really like this. She's not very patient.
Yes.
He kind of had that energy.
Yes. It was not an energy that I was vibing.
It was like,
I was not
you're
vibing.
You're not very patient. And I think that's going to be kind of a red flag for me.
Well, it's also, are you willing to have someone disagree with you or challenge your opinions at all? Like,
I also think he wasn't ready for her because like she's been quiet, has barely said it, 2 words this whole time, quiet, sweet, in the corner. And then all of a sudden is just like completely standing up for herself and completely not letting him slide with like a one-liner.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people would have just, when he goes, you know, like, don't worry about the one-on-ones. Well, okay, thanks for saying that. Thanks. That means a lot. She was like, no. Here's my thoughts. And I think he wasn't ready for that.
Yeah. No, well, and then also too, it's like, I don't know. I think there's this level of, did he like Jess before because she wasn't challenging him? And then she challenged him. And then all of a sudden he was like, I don't feel this connection anymore. And to me, I go, don't like it.
It was not a great look.
It was not. And it was just adding to the list where it's like you go back to think about the one-on-one with Rachel in the fantasy suite. And I kept thinking about that with Jess because obviously he really liked Rachel. And you wonder, was there a conversation that fantasy suite where they disagreed on something and he did what he did to Jess to Rachel in the fantasy suite? Because then when we heard him after the fantasy suite, he was like, she's a different person and da-da-da-da. And it's like, oh, or did you actually are you unwilling to be challenged? Are you unwilling to have conversations that don't go exactly how you like?
I think I know what it is.
Unless,
I think he tries really hard to be a really good guy. And the second someone challenges that, it's like you're attacking his efforts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he tries super hard to be the model of like
what he thinks he should be.
Exactly. Yeah. Like the perfect man. And I think that anytime that, like someone goes, I think you're handling this wrong or doing this wrong, it like triggers him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So he's not like totally comfortable maybe in who he is. And maybe that's where like the, like, I don't know. There's something about it where he's like, he's got this perfect mold of what he's trying to do. And if you crack it at all, it kind of rattles him.
Yeah. No, I mean, definitely. And I mean, I know he's young. And I would just say, from what I saw of that, a lot of emotional maturity that needs to happen. Yeah. That's for sure. Yeah. And I definitely continue to go, okay.
Yeah.
We love you, Jess. And then Jess then was just like, she literally said, I'm not going to bend for you. Yeah. I'm not doing that. And she,
beg.
What? She said beg. I thought she said bend. Either way.
Same thing.
She got her ass up and walked out that door. And I was just like, yes, loved it.
You gave him like a side hug.
She is going to sweep in paradise. And we cannot wait to see you, Jess, with your gorgeous body glitter, you beautiful thing, you. Cannot wait.
Yeah.
Cannot wait.
She's going to do great.
But then he came back after Jess left. What was an interesting piece to me, again, as an observer, that he came back to the group of women who were sitting there and he said that he had a conversation with Jess and it got to a frustrating point where he had to send her home. Now, again,
I broke up with her.
Maybe there's some sort of editing going on where he was like, I think you need to leave. And then she's like, I'm not going to beg for you. But from what we saw, Jess left.
At best, they both agreed.
Yeah, but it was definitely like she was the one who stood up and walked out.
But the send her home was definitely...
But then he's just like, I had to send her home. And it's like, okay, interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting how he didn't try at all to keep that relationship going. It was like the second there was any friction at all, or just even a conversation that wasn't just praising him, she was gone.
But that's what we're saying.
Very interesting.
The second there's any, when it's women that he's loving and everything's going smoothly, he's fantastic, a great listener, is absorbing and is there for the person. But it's like when there's that hiccup.
He goes golfing on your birthday, comes back and goes, I don't think this is working out.
Yeah.
You're like, okay. Oh my God.
I mean, we'll see. Again, I know editing can play a part, but we'll see. All right. Well, next we had the Ariel date, and that went swimmingly for Zach. I mean, Zach is over the moon for Ariel at this moment. He made it very clear to her later in the date where he was like, I really wasn't sure where we stood, and I really didn't feel like this was maybe going to work, but I am a smitten kitten. And he mentioned, Sean, his mentor, as an example. And so, I mean, he made it very clear to Ariel that he did not think it was going to happen.
No.
Which also would have made me feel a little weird if I'm Ariel sitting there being like, okay, you've said that plenty of times. Just tell me that you're really into me and you're stoked that the date went really well. You don't have to say it so many times.
Also, Zach made mention that the charcuterie board was really cold.
Yeah, he was.
No, I don't want a hot charcuterie board. I don't want hot cheese and meat.
He's like, great, an ice cold charcuterie
ice cold.
board.
I'm like, last time I don't want warm strawberries. Hot cheese,
hot meats,
and warm, sweaty meats. So I'm not exactly sure what version he likes. Maybe he's like pastrami sandwiches, a charcuterie board, but I don't know.
Well, they were in for quite the surprise because they went to a sauna that turned into a nudist sauna, which I would love to know if this sauna is always a nudist sauna or if production came in and was like, let's throw nudists
Now,
in
were
before
they
the sauna.
nude?
Was who nude?
At
any point, Zach and Ariel?
They were never nude.
No, they were never nude.
So that was strange to me because in the past we've had nude situations, right?
Yeah.
And the contestants get nude.
Sometimes, yeah.
So it was strange that they weren't nude at the nude sauna.
Well, they potentially were like, we don't want to be nude.
Yeah, it was just strange
okay.
that like they went to this nude place.
Yeah. Well, they didn't ask to go to the nude sauna.
Well, no, but I'm saying, and then everyone else is nude around them while they're in their bathing suit. That's like worst case scenario.
What were you thinking when in Rome? Just to be like, well, I guess I'm going to go nude.
Well, I mean, we've seen this many times on the show where people, they get naked and they do this thing. We saw it in Paradise when they were doing, like we've seen it multiple times. And it's just funny to me that they were staying dressed.
I think it might have been the length too, because a lot of times what we see in Paradise is there's like a snippet of their date that involves nudity. Their entire date was at the nude sauna. That means they would have been nude for like 4 to 5 hours.
But I thought at least one of the stations they'd be nuded. They were never nude, and they just had to look at nude people, which is a strange thing. There's nothing romantic about a sauna, really, but there's nothing worse than having a romantic champagne-filled jacuzzi and then having 2 nude people hop in right next to you. That's worst fucking case scenario. Because you're literally
or
like
a
finally...
sauna where you're sweating your ass off and then in the tightest quarters and then people have to like kind of squeeze by you with their like genitals out and you're like, well, we were in the middle of making out.
I agree, but it's still hot and you're not going to like make out and like sit there and then the boiling heat. You're kind of just sweating it out.
Yeah,
going,
you're sweating it out. They started making out, though.
Yeah, but jacuzzi's like vibes, right? That's classic.
Yeah,
like you're in a jacuzzi, you're cheering, and he's just like climbing over you. And they're both just completely nude, like sitting right next to you, looking at you. Like that's worst case scenario.
They were giving them love advice nude in the sauna. And what I like to think about is, here's the thing. Maybe they were a couple of nudes who were at the sauna and just hopped on in. But likely, when you have to sign papers to be on this show. So I like the idea of that they auditioned to be the nudes on the show. That there was a line of people being like, we will be the nudists at this sauna. We will give them life advice and make out wildly in front of them in the hot tub. And I love the idea of them getting the call that they got the role and they were like, yes.
And I love the idea. There's no matter how good your advice is, like if your legs like this in the sauna and you're nude, no matter how good the advice would be, I couldn't take it. It's just like
it's too much.
Here's the thing. You gotta give each other space and really don't judge. Don't judge and really just be open to growth, and I think growing together is important, and you're just completely like open.
Just man spreading your
you're just
face
spreading
off.
And you're just like, here's the thing. It's like, no matter
oh my God, that was so funny.
Yeah.
And Ariel, I mean, what a great sport she is.
She
was
awesome.
just she's amazing. Great energy. She's just joking her way through it. He's got some wonderful women on this season.
Honestly, they're all really great.
Yeah, wonderful women. But they have their night portion, which is AKA still during the day, because apparently it seems like the cocktail party rose ceremony happened that evening,
night,
which makes me sad for Ariel that she was shortchanged on a date.
She get a day date, which is not.
And I dude, there's nothing. I'd be so pissed. I'd be like, the night portion is when I get super glam and I wear my nighttime makeup and there's like that beautiful light on me, and like you have me like in some manner in the middle of the day, the bright light is streaming through. It's just not nearly as sexy.
No, it's not as romantic too. It doesn't kind of calm you down.
Not at all. But man, he likes Ariel.
Yeah.
He really likes.
He's
got the hots for Ariel.
He's very attracted to her energy and vibes.
Yes,
for sure.
Is. So then we get to the cocktail party. There's 7 women, no Greer. We find out later that Greer. At this point, I'm like, did they do a Logan to Greer and they just like quietly removed her and we're never going to see her again?
But we see in the preview for next week that she shows back up. She is
returning. So cocktail party, the interesting portion of the cocktail party lies in when Charity, which I loved, Charity was like, hey, Kat, can we talk? You see Kat in the ITMs being like, I don't know if this is going to mess anything up before she gets there, like, this back and forth. So I love Charity so much. I love that she's like, hey, can I talk to you? And let's step aside away from everybody and have this conversation.
Only thing is I wish she was less mature and she would have done it in front of everybody and been like, so why did you do that? And then everyone can like jump in and attack. You know what I mean?
She took the mature route. We wouldn't have hated to see the immature that
would have loved for a little bit less maturity than Charity, but whatever.
But she pulls her, but Brooklyn is like, bitch, I am getting into this conversation.
So
you know,
good.
Brooklyn, they're holding their back.
If you talk to one of us, you talk to all of us. Like, that was the energy.
They're holding their back, and she's just like sitting there knowing that Charity and Kat are talking, and she's like, I will protect my friend. And I saw Charity post on Instagram. She goes, Brooklyn always rides at dawn.
I think my favorite too was
badass.
that they were talking, and then Kat was saying, I'm not going to apologize for what I did. But my favorite thing about the whole interaction was, I thought that Brooklyn was going to come up and be like, continue. I just want to be here for my friend.
Yeah.
She goes, let me ask you a question. And then Kat runs off, because Kat's
Storms off.
Kat's like, I can't handle this aggressive behavior. But it just made me laugh because, like, whenever someone in a heightened way says, let me ask you a question, they don't have a question for you.
No, I love it.
They're saying, why are you an asshole? And they're just putting a question mark on the end of it to make you have,
I have a question for you. Why are you such a dick?
Yeah, I have a question for you. You know what I mean? It's always like, that's not you never ask a question.
No.
You know what I mean?
No. I mean, but it was, if I was Charity, like, again, everyone has different personalities. Like, maybe Charity was like, hey, I wanted to pull her aside. I don't want anybody else there. But if I was Charity, I would have felt so supported and loved that I pull Kat aside, and I, like you said, you hear her saying something about, like, I stand by what I did, da 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 da, and to then feel the presence of my friend Brooklyn walking up and being like, oh, I can pass it over.
Yeah.
I was like, thank you, bless you.
1000%.
But yeah, I mean, Kat just took off, and she's like, I'm not doing this, Charity. We can talk another time. I'm not doing it right now. Again, another example of what I said, where it's like, she's like, this is an inconvenient time for me, so no. And it's like, how are you not getting that it was an inconvenient time for Charity?
Yeah.
So, come on.
What you doing?
Now, interesting dynamic was that Kat is then off to the side, and Zach walks in as she's having this little tantrum.
She goes, oh, hi.
And she goes, oh my God, hi, Zach. And just switches.
Yeah.
And that was a little bit like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
But Zach sits down with her and right away says, I feel like there was a disconnect at he calls it the witch thing. I think there was a disconnect at the witch thing, at that sorcery.
Yeah.
And Kat, interesting move, says, I wasn't feeling that way at all. I haven't been on a group date for a while, and it's been a while since I've seen you, so maybe you were feeling that energy, but that was it. And intentionally does not share that. But of course, the reason there was a disconnect is because there was the tension between Kat and Brooklyn, which Kat shared about in the ITMs. She doesn't want Zach to know that, because she knows that if he finds out, that he will pull Brooklyn aside, as Zach does, which I do appreciate him that he will go to the source, that he will pull Brooklyn aside and be like, what went down? So the fact that Kat did not share that was an interesting play. That's
I disagree.
For sure. You disagree? What do you disagree on?
I think she missed an opportunity to draw first blood.
Really?
We've seen it happen throughout this whole show. Anytime someone's the first person to bring it up, they get the other person kicked out. They sour the other person's idea. I'm saying for this season. Every time someone's gone to Zach and said, this person's problematic, even if they weren't or barely said anything, they're out.
Yeah.
So my thing is this, what she should have done, because Zach knows about what happened because he was a part of it. So this wasn't like stuff that happened in the house.
Right.
Zach even said, I'm sad that our time got cut off before that date. So there's nothing she's done that Zach doesn't know about.
True.
The only thing that's happened is Brooklyn
True.
has gone off on her. So she missed a golden opportunity to go, no, there was something that was a little bothering. Oh, what happened? I nicely went out of my way to talk to you and just get your moment with you because I haven't seen you in so long and I missed you so much and you're so amazing. And Brooklyn just flew off at me and was like using aggressive words and all this stuff. And it's like, all I'm doing was just trying to talk to my boyfriend and talk to this person I care about. And she's telling me I'm classless and I'm this and I'm not using swear words. And I just felt threatened. Boom. Now Brooklyn is off the chain. And let's be real, Kat is definitely feels like a little higher than Brooklyn in the totem pool.
I was going to say, as far as Zach goes, I think Zach vibes harder. Like he says, I've never dated a model
exactly.
Before with Kat,
so
that he would have probably stuck with Kat.
If she could have painted it right, then Brooklyn would have come and talked to him. And what could she have said?
Yeah.
Well, I just didn't like the way that she did it. Well, did you say this? Yeah, but I felt, Brooklyn, you're out. Boom.
What you're saying might get pushed to next week. She might end up doing that next week and getting Brooklyn kicked off, which I sure hope not. But I did think that she didn't say it intentionally because she was concerned, I would assume, about starting that and potentially getting cut, because she's seen how Zach has handled any sort of controversy that I think she did not want him to know, because then he would talk to Brooklyn and it would become a thing.
Problem is now she's left Brooklyn open to possibly have a conversation and paint it in a certain light to him. So all I'm saying is, like, I felt like that was a golden opportunity to play a villain move and get Brooklyn cut.
That's true. You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
I'm not saying she should have or it was the right thing. I'm saying, like,
I know. You're saying it's the move that you could have. It could have gotten you on top.
Yeah.
It could have gotten you on top. Well, we'll see. I wouldn't doubt that happens next week. Yeah. That's for sure. Well, rose ceremony. Allie ends up getting sent home. She seems so wonderful, though. Yeah. Maybe we'll see her on the beach.
Maybe, yeah.
But Greer. Okay, so preview for next week. Like I said, Greer's back. We see Zach saying something about someone's uncertainty is making him feel nervous. So I'm like, do we yet again have a situation where because someone has a question, Zach's like, we're not connected anymore? So
she had a question, she's gone.
Don't question my judgment.
I will choose one of you.
And then we have a moment where we hear Zach talking about that his fantasy suite rule is going to be, or he's going to attempt to have no sex. Mm-hmm. Which I don't know if we've ever seen this in the franchise before, where the lead openly says, I'm not going to have sex with anybody this season. And then we get a preview where Jesse's like, you're going to be tempted. And Zach's saying, this is an act of love, not lust. I might have just lost all these women. So the fantasy suite seems like it's going to get a little interesting, which I'm so excited for. That. But this was an interesting episode.
I liked it.
It definitely had some interesting pieces in it. That's for sure.
Yeah, it changed the dynamics.
It did.
You know, it's been happy-go-lucky time this whole time, and now we have a little dissension in the house.
And I got my eye on you, Zach. I got my eye on
you. Are you changing? Who are you really?
Who are you really, Zach?
Well, yeah, it's gonna be awesome. I'm excited for next week to see Greer come back too, to see that kind of
what happens.
Shake up.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I bet there'll be some annoyances there. I'll be like, wait, she just gets to like get sick and then come back, and then
I'm sure. You know, I'm sure there will.
Brooklyn, get after it.
Come on, Brooklyn, speak for the people. All right, should we do one call home before we wrap? Let's do one call home and hear from the family.
Hi, Mom and Dad. I just wanted to say that I love you guys so much. I love your podcast. It's been amazing. I've been listening to Chatty Broads for 2 years now, and this transition has been incredible. I love you, Jess. I love you, Evan. And I also want to say that, Jess, I love how you are so open about your mental health struggles. I struggle with anxiety and depression, and I've been married for 3 years now, and in the beginning of my marriage, I did not go to therapy. I did not try anything. And it was really detrimental to my relationship. And so I decided to go to therapy to get some help. Yes. And when I did, I noticed that I really got better. I've been doing it for a year now, and I've really improved. However, my partner is not big on therapy, and I realize that he also needs therapy. But it's hard to bring it up and talk about it within a space in which he's not fully open to it. So I just wanted to ask how you guys talk about therapy, how you kind of interject, how you put that into your relationship, and kind of what you how you would bring it up in a way that kind of makes your other partner feel that it's nothing that's scary or that's just not good, because I think it's been great, and I know that it's something that is really beneficial for a lot of people.
Well, first and foremost, I just want to say congratulations for taking that step into therapy. I know that that's scary. It's a big step, and I'm so happy to hear that you've seen good things result from it. That makes me so happy, and so congratulations to you. Definitely can relate to the anxiety, depression piece and needing to go to therapy piece myself. Okay. I'll say this.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm been pretty vocal on Chatty Broads and then on this podcast too about my mental health struggles. And that's been happening, since I was as long as I can remember. Long time mental health issues over here. And I've been going to therapy for a really long time. And you are somewhat new to therapy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so in this situation with your partner who is feeling resistant to therapy, first of all, my question would be, when you bring up your journey with therapy, is your partner, does that aggravate your partner? Is that something like your partner doesn't want to hear about your journey at all? Or is it if you bring up that your partner needs to or should be going to therapy themselves, is that when your partner is getting irritated? Because I always have felt like the best bet in mine and Evan's relationship was me sharing about my personal experiences and journeys with therapy. Because I had noticed, when I would bring it up to you, you were never like, absolutely not.
No.
Therapy's not for me. But you were always just kind of like, yeah, maybe someday.
Yeah.
And we kind of like brush it off. But yeah, no, I would, bring up often to you. I would just be like, this is how therapy really was beneficial to me. And can I tell you about my session today? And that's how I would really approach it, I know, with you. And like I said, I know you weren't shut off to it. You were just kind of like, yeah, maybe one day. And then when you'd be struggling through something, I'd be like, I think you should really go to therapy. And you'd be like, okay, yeah, I will. And then, you maybe wouldn't take that step. But the best thing that I saw, and I mean, you could answer this question better because you were on the receiving end, I think was when I would share things that had really benefited me in my own personal journey, or like friends of mine, when friends had shared stories that they, were allowing me to share with you, or I'd be like, yeah, this is how this benefited them. And this is what their therapist said. And isn't this a great piece of advice? Or did you listen to this podcast? This is from this therapist, and kind of slowly intro that into our conversations a little bit. So I would say to this family member, I would say when you're having these conversations with your partner, that maybe the best bet is to just talk about things that are happening personally in your own therapy journey, if you're comfortable doing that, and maybe how your therapist helped you. Because it's very clear, if you're feeling better and it's been successful for you, that your partner is witnessing that. Of course, your partner is seeing that you're doing better, and I'm sure that they are like very happy to see that. So you can talk about it in that way, like, look at how much this is helping me. Look at how much this is benefiting me, and it's benefiting our relationship. And then, when you're talking about your experiences, then bringing that up too, like, I think you would really like this. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that's a really sweet way to do it. My approach is a little bit more like, if someone is made it vocally clear that they're not interested in doing it, never talk about it again for a while, and just be the proof of what you're working on. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So it's like it's hard to change people's minds, really hard on things. And I think what normally works is less just talking to them about it. Bringing it up in conversation casually is different than like talking to them about it, or being like, here's what happened, or why don't you do it? That kind of conversation. People, we see it in religion and politics and all these things. It's like, it's really hard. Like, people are pretty set in like the way they think. And if your partner feels pretty resistant to it, I wouldn't bring it up in a way of like trying to get them to go. Mm-hmm. I would just be the result. You know what I mean? If your partner is seeing the results
that they're getting healthier
consistently,
yeah.
If they're ever going to open up, that's what's going to do it. So if they're resistant to it, I wouldn't even bring it up again, because the more you talk about it could push them farther. You know what I mean? Because they feel like you're trying to push them into something, or bring up issues that they're not even aware of or feel about themselves yet. So I would just try it to ask them about it. If they do not want to do it, cool, just be the result.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's definitely, I think, an interesting, good approach. I know, again, in our like journey,
that's
with
just my take. That's not obviously, this is all just like opinions, but
sure.
I know, I'm just saying for myself.
Yeah.
It's like, for me, if I feel kind of against something, or not against it, but not very interested in it, someone talking about it is not going to sway me. Mm-hmm. But if I see that person, oh my God, whoa, they're changing and they're really
and I think
blossoming, then I'm going to be like, wait, what was that thing you're talking about?
Yeah, I think our like the final moment between me and you, when you decided to start going to therapy, was when you were having a really tough time with something.
Right.
And it was something that I had kind of similarly walked through a few years before. And, you then had been vocal to me about seeing the way that I had shifted my perspective and kind of living in a little more like peace in that way, going through that. And then you asked me like, well, what do you think I should do? And what are your thoughts? And then we were able to have a conversation where I was like, well, this is what my therapist talked to me about. And this is then what made it easier for me to process, A, B, and C. And then after saying that, I just, I gently was like, hey, you know what? I know that you've talked about that you'd be down to do therapy and you're not against it, but you just really haven't taken that step. Like, I think it might be time to actually like make the call and start it.
Exactly.
And I think maybe, that was the time to have that conversation because you were like, okay, I'm ready. I
was finally open to the idea. And so it's like, but there's a good chance that if you had been pushing it on me for years, it would have really made me not want to do it.
Yeah.
Just because that can happen. You know what I mean? That can really happen. So I would just say tread lightly and then be the result. And then if you find openings, bring it up. But don't try to think that like the more you talk about it constantly or like push them to do it, that they're going to be interested. I feel like it can go the opposite way. So keep focusing on yourself and be that result. I was going
to say, that like this has been beneficial to you. And I'm so unbelievably happy to hear that. Like I said, I know what it's like to walk with that anxiety and that depression. And so hearing that there is this source, this therapist that is helping you move through life and feel better is amazing. So yes, continue to focus on you. There are so many different avenues of therapy that you can go down to, and also all different other, ways that you can take care of yourself and love on yourself and just process through all of this. So continue to do that. Continue loving on yourself, and sending you so much love.
Good luck and congrats.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. Well, family.
Another beautiful time.
A beautiful time together. Let us know about your thoughts on what your icks are and what the definition of an ick is, please.
Send in your ick voicemails.
I'm super curious. Send in the ick voicemails. We want to hear all about it. We'll talk about them next week. Listen to them next week on the pod. And we love you all.
Yeah. Have a beautiful weekend. Kisses and hugs. Bye.
Bye.